computers.
So we are live on Facebook, which is good. Whether it's gone live on YouTube, of course, is another thing altogether. But we get more people on Facebook anyway than YouTube anyway, so it's I'm not
Oh,
I'm not too bothered, if you know what I mean. Used to get more on X, but of course now, of course, you can't use X anymore. It's a bit of a nightmare, but you have to keep flooding people over to it. So just give me 2 seconds because
yeah,
literally
right.
it is a one-man show. So just give me 2 seconds. So many groups, and you've just got to find them all.
It's always the way.
That's a nightmare, honestly. So the one I was looking for was I know there's I'm part of the Lowestoft group as well, so I knew it was there somewhere. It was run right at the very very bottom. But the boss is joining us later, isn't he? He's coming in a bit later.
Yeah, he said he'd be there about
Um,
about 20 past 7, I think he said.
yeah, that's all right, mate, yeah. Well, welcome to the Repost Non-League Show, and we're back again for the next hour. And really pleased to say this week we're joined by a couple of people that we've not spoken to before on the show before. So it's really nice to have some new friends on the show. And we've got, of course, we've got Ryan Jarvis, of course, and I've got to get it right, otherwise I get told off. Player coach down at Leiston. How are you, Ryan?
Very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too
Good.
bad. And of course, a man I saw doing the Summer League Goal Show and doing an absolutely fantastic job presenting the Lowestoft highlights and in a fantastic show. If you get a chance to watch it, you need to go on there and have a look because it's some fantastic coverage. And of course, it's Glenn from Lowestoft. So welcome, Glenn.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
No problems at all. I mean, I suppose we always start off with saying that's a bit non-league, but good result for my boys yesterday, of course, in the North London derby. I mean, everybody happy or not? Arsenal or Spurs fans?
Well, yeah, I'm a Hammers fan. Just put that out there. No, I mean, I did actually. I saw the goals, and to be fair, a really good performance. But
Mm,
it looked really strong.
mm. Right. I
So,
mean,
yeah.
you gonna tell us who you support other than Leiston?
Myself?
Yeah.
Well, growing up, I was a United fan. Man United, that is, even though I live sort of Norwich and grew up playing for Norwich. But yeah, always United.
Mm. Oh, I mean, I suppose one question, into non-league football, and I mean, what is it like now for? Because I mean, I know when I was part of sort of with Harlow years ago, you know, that Leiston and Lowestoft were sort of Isthmian teams, and they were in that sort of vicinity. Then Lowestoft got promoted and went out and went into to Silly League. When it was it in the North or something, the Vanarama North and all this silly stuff.
Yeah.
In you know and all that sort of, so what's it now like then to sort of come back into step four at different times and say step three and going into you know the Southern League? What do you have you been part of both journeys?
No, so I'm pretty. I'm quite new to Lowestoft. Myself and my colleague Stephen, we've been there for just over a year now. I'm actually fairly new to Lowestoft area. I only sort of lived in the area for about 3 years. But I mean, yeah, I mean, if I compare sort of last season to this season, I mean, yeah, there's a massive noticeable difference, I think, in the quality of just the quality of football in general. I mean, I've always been a lower league, non-league fan. Anyway, Hammers is my main team, but I'm a very fond of Dagenham and Redbridge, who are currently playing the National League, and partly because that's my hometown. So I've always enjoyed watching lower league, non-league football. I just think the atmospheres are great. But yeah, I mean, listen, Lowestoft, we're on a buzz at the moment at the club. We had a fantastic season last season. The boys have worked really hard. We missed out on the playoffs the season before. This season, we know it's going to be tough. We've certainly seen an increase in sort of, well, for me, I was saying with Stephen on one of the commentaries the other day, the pace at which a lot of the games are played at, it's just so fast. And it really is high press on both teams. But it's exciting. It's a really exciting league, really exciting football.
Would you say the same, Ryan? I mean, because at least had a good run up in the playoffs, and then a couple of seasons ago. I mean, what do you see the standard, in sort of in the Southern League being pretty strong?
Yeah, I think so. I never played step four, so I can't actually compare it in terms of playing, but I've got a lot of friends that have played step four. So I totally agree with Glenn there. Because they've told me on first hand that is a big jump from step four to step three in terms of
Yeah.
quality, fitness, maybe not so much physicality because you get some big lads, I think, in step four, but in terms of the quality and the pace of the game, it's definitely jump up. Yeah, like you said, like a couple of years ago, we had a hell of a run in it, and we came very close. But then the next jump up to step two, you're doing an awful lot of traveling all over the country. So it's a massive commitment. So it can be huge for the clubs in terms of you have to be ready as well to go up, another league in terms of your structure of the club.
And is it, I mean, you say that as well because I was doing some work last year. I was doing some commentaries and stuff last year for Enfield Town, of course, and they've jumped up and gone into into the Vanarama South and struggling a little bit at the minute. And we've sort of being the first fan-owned club and stuff like that as well. So they're going up there and going in against money bags teams that are in there. And as you say, it must be a big jump. Are Leiston sort of if they were to get into the playoffs, or if they were to get into, automatic, or would you be ready to go up there? Would that be sort of like a bit of a scary prospect, not only for you, but for the manager and of course also for the chairman and owner?
Yeah, I can't comment on too much in terms of would the club be ready. I don't know enough in terms of the background of the club, and the finances and the structure, but I think you definitely have the group of players if you could add one or two to that, you definitely have the group of players to maybe compete and challenge, and just be at least competitive in the next league. I think we've got a lot of youth, a good blend of some experience and youth. So in terms of playing, I think they'd give it a good go, the group. But in terms of the structure of the club and maybe the size of the fan base and the money coming in, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest.
I think the issue as well, of course, with Enfield last year, they got promoted. Their star striker got picked off by Gillingham. Two assists like yesterday, on Saturday, and of course the captain retired, so completely out of the blue. So all of a sudden, they are struggling. But what's it like planning? I suppose we should say a welcome to Jamie, of course. How are you, mate? Manager down there at Lowestoft. But I mean, the question would be, I mean, we're talking about how strong the league is at step three, and then you see the people like, Leroy Lita being part of it, and Charlie Austin now sort of part of it as well. I mean, and others. I mean, that just shows you, Jamie, doesn't it, how strong sort of step three is in the Southern League?
Yeah, and probably how much money there is in the league as well. If players are prepared to drop down levels to still continue playing. I mean, yeah, I think there's a vast contrast in what teams are playing throughout, what teams are paying throughout the league. And I think if you've got money, then you can entice people, ex-professionals, into coming to your club.
So have you got any ex-professionals coming down to yours in the near future then?
Well, I mean, I guess our strategy this summer has been to pick off those that have been released from clubs at 19, 20, 21. So very few have kind of, or they got a good sort of CV in terms of where the clubs that they've played for. So the likes of Norwich, Ipswich, Peterborough, for us. And they're looking to establish themselves again, having received some bad news over the summer, and we picked them up late on because they had they trialed for the first 6 to 8 weeks in pre-season, and no one got deals, and so we left it late. We were patient enough to hold on and not just sign players because our fans told us that we needed to sign them, or sign anyone. We were real short of numbers, but and we've ended up with a pretty decent squad, just through being patient and some really good players in that as well.
I mean, while you was talking there as well, James, I was just looking at Ryan's sort of fixtures, just recently, and been a bit not necessarily lucky for travel wise, I would say, in the last few games, because you could have come all the way down to where I am in with Bishop Stortford, but you got them at home. I know they're in the league still, but you got Bishop Stortford, Waltham Abbey, which is where I'm talking to you from. So you had them at home, which was quite lucky, and of course you had to travel down to Brentwood, which ain't too far from me, and you got them at home tomorrow night in the FA Cup in a replay.
Well, yeah, you're right. Look forward to that game. Even though we should have really hung on and been in the next round already. But yeah, looking forward to these games, and they're probably, like you say, the most local ones, because this, especially for the likes of Lowestoft and Leiston, you're going all the way across to the other side of Birmingham.
Mm.
So there was a little bit of travelling in this league, but it's all I've ever known, and it's sort of, you just get on with it. It's no problem. But to some, it's like, oh, you do a bit of travelling in that league, don't you? But like, wait till you go to the next one.
And it is that. I mean, do you find that because you guys are sort of almost, with Needham getting promoted last year, you guys are sort of, especially for Leiston with Needham, but I mean, you are sort of like almost on your own there, aren't you? That you haven't got anybody to, like, necessarily super local derbies. Because the likes of Great Yarmouth and people like that are still not at that level, and so forth, and Needham above. So you've got a lot. So how do you both clubs sort of find that? Is that difficult for you guys to, and I sort of ask Ryan first because you brought it up, but is it difficult for the manager there to actually get players to come and play because of the travelling distance, where if you was in more of a localish league, you might get more players come and play because it isn't too much of a problem work-wise?
Yeah, that comes into it, definitely. Sometimes you want to build a squad, I'd imagine, for the management team based on the quality of player and the players that you need. But when you're a manager of a non-league club, sometimes you might need to look at go, well, if we get that player, he might have a couple around him as well, because it's the car school and things like that come into play, because sometimes a player might not want to travel an hour and a half on his own, but if you've got three maybe that can come from that area, that's a big pull sometimes. And you'll see with the Midlands clubs, it's like a merry-go-round sometimes. You see one player play for four different clubs in the same season, because the next one guy chuck him a few hundred quid extra, and they can just go from club to club. Whereas here you're kind of looking at, like God has said, in terms of like Norwich and Colchester and Ipswich, to try and get these good youngsters that perhaps want to stay in and around their hometown, and they're not traveling so far. So but then you've got Lowestoft, Leiston, Needham probably fighting over the same kind of players, which I'm sure that's happened probably this year and previous years.
And is that difficult now for both of you now because Needham have gone up a level? So maybe they might look at Needham before looking at Lowestoft, before looking at Leiston if they're going to go and join a club because they're now at step 2, or does that not come into it?
It depends what the ambition of the player is, I guess. Sometimes you'll get players at different ages really wanting to carry on and progress with their football journey. Sometimes work life comes into it and the balance of their life, whether it's a family, whether it's a career, the step up to the Conference North might be too much of a commitment for them. So sometimes the lure of playing the Vanarama Conference sometimes isn't for everybody. So sometimes you're in a better position being in a step 3 club than you are going up one sometimes. But again, that's just all on a individual basis in terms of what players want from their career still.
Would you agree with that, Jamie? I mean, do you have issues yourself with the travelling wise?
Yeah, I think that's a huge. I mean, the first we got promoted last year, and the kind of the first thing I thought about was who's going to stay. Luckily, the majority were on 2-year deals, so I didn't really have a choice. But I mean, we lost a couple because the travel and the commitment is just so much more. So Jarv's right. You have a pool of players locally, and you kind of right. Quality wise, are they good enough? And then commitment wise, can they do it? And then just where we are, location, you're left with a real small pool of players with what you can choose from, and even worse if you are, I think, Leiston, whether they outbid us or just fancied Leiston more. We put 4 offers in for players and they all chose Leiston, but I heard that the staff over there are really good as well. So, but that's you're fishing in a very small pond. That's certainly something that we've found. Jumping up the level, fishing in the same pond as Leiston and Needham, and we'll throw Gorson into the mix because they're our most local club that have a really good budget now as well. So, yeah, the player that you have that have just they're not as many as there perhaps used to be if we were in the league below.
I mean, you're talking about travelling. We did all of the last series. We had a little piece at the end of the show called Down the Mouse Hole, and it was a team called Mousehole that are actually in the South Division in the Southern League, and they've actually their travelling is 8,000 miles this year.
Wow,
8,000. And they were saying that some of their coach journeys, or majority of their coach journeys, is 2 coach drivers, and this year we got like Didcot and I think Thatcham that well, they're closer they're literally just up the road from me. Do you know what I mean? It's just crazy stuff, and it's like they've got that sort of journey to do, and they might have to use 3 coach drivers just because of because of what's going on. It's just
it's a huge toll financially as well, isn't it, for clubs? Coach hire isn't cheap these days. And that's the other thing is it comes with a huge financial attachment traveling.
And I mean, with that though, I mean, with all that sort of put aside, I mean, is it a case of like when you sort of set the season out, do you have to sort of really budget for that and then hope maybe FA Cup wise and FA Trophy wise you don't end up with somebody like Mouse or something like that that's right down in Cornwall or something along those sort of lines? Do you have to sort of do you budget because of the journeys and just because you've now got into this sort of sub league, does it? And with maybe closer ones getting promoted, etc., etc. All of a sudden that budget might change a little bit because of that travelling expense?
100%. That's the main. It's the main financial outlay that we have to do, and when you're kind of planning whether you want to go up or not, you have to consider that. I mean, it's a huge huge increase in our budget just through traveling, just being in step 3, massive, and we've had to find ways around how we manage that and how we bring in extra income to try and finance that.
I'm just looking at, FA Cup draws, and of course, you've got the winner. You've got a nice little trip as well, haven't you, Jamie? Either Haringey, Borough, or Whittam. So you've either got plastic or you've got grass, but it's still a fair old journey.
That I think they all are. Whittam would be a fairly localish one in context to where we are. But I mean, the draw itself was really good to us. I think you would want to play at home, or you'd want to play teams that are lower down the pyramid than you, particularly at this stage of the competition with so many big teams still left in. So I think for us it's a good draw, and the travel, we are used to it. I mean, there's we do Saturday's a football day anyway, so regardless of whether it's 7 or 8 o'clock, which is what we've been doing in some of our away games this season, or the biggest challenge will be the Tuesday night one. So if we draw, it's a home draw on a Tuesday night.
And Ryan, of course, you're going to get the joys of playing Hornchurch if we win. Of course, step 2, promoted last year as champions in Isthmian Prem, so that'd be a tough old task to go to welcome them to Leicester.
I think we played them last year actually, in maybe the trophy, beat them at home. So yeah, it'll be a tough game, but like I said, we've got to get through tomorrow night first, and hopefully, we get a win tomorrow night. We weren't at our best Saturday, but to be fair to Brentwood, they gave it a right good go. Hopefully we make amends tomorrow night first, and like I said, it'll be a good tie against Hornchurch. But yeah, like I said, if it's a home draw, then we fancy ourselves on our grass at home.
I mean, question for James. Just looking at some of the fixtures. I mean, you've played. So what is when you look at the fixtures when they come out? Is there a sort of a ground that you look at and think, do you know what? I wouldn't mind. That's the one I'm really looking forward to. I mean, I look at it on the goal show every week, and there's one ground there that sort of that stands out from everywhere else, and of course that's down at Telford. I mean, is that something else down there?
Yeah, we played them at home last week, and in watching some of their games and in their stadium, looks a lovely place. I think they got 1,200 on a Tuesday night game last week, so that's something you look forward to, and playing in front of that, I suppose, if it's a hostile kind of ground. But it looks lovely. I've not been there before. The pitch looked nice. The ground, the surrounding of the ground, and having actually a ground that fills with supporters, that probably be the one that we look forward to going.
And also looking forward to, of course, to the derby game, of course, against the man to your left, as I'm looking on the screen, of course, Boxing Day.
Always, yeah. They're always full of goals over recent years. I think we didn't play them. We played them in the cup last year, but I remember, I think it was like a 5-2 or something like that on Boxing Day the season before that, and then loads of goals, and always a tough competitive game. Yeah, it's and with Needham going, that's our one. It's the Suffolk derby this year, the only Suffolk derby that there'll be this year.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Sudbury in there as well, haven't you? So what Sudbury? That's Suffolk, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. But I mean, we won't talk about that result. We'll leave there. We'll gloss over that one, yeah.
What result?
But Glenn, question for you, sort of not leaving out the conversation too much. I mean, how have you is this your sort of first year in doing what you're doing for the club, or have you done that previously elsewhere? I mean, talk to us a little bit about your sort of career in doing presenting and editing as such.
Yeah, always. So I've always been involved sort of through college and so on and so forth in sort of media, music, performing arts, all that kind of stuff. And then actually I got into career in teaching, and I got into sort of football videography. I started off at Great Yarmouth Town, with Stephen, my colleague, who's at Lowestoft with me at the moment. And that was very much with sort of the under-18s team. I then sort of continued that on at the likes of, say, Beccles. Eventually, then sort of applying for the Lowestoft position sort of this time last year. So, I'd say myself and Stephen have been at Lowestoft for over a year now. And then, I've sort of done another sort of year and a half before that of mainly Beccles, Great Yarmouth Town. But in terms of videography, I do private contract jobs, so on and so forth as well on the side. So, it's fairly new in terms of sort of football videography the last sort of 2.5 years. But I've done other projects and things in my time.
Is it you and your partner that sort of come up with the idea of how you present your sort of Lowestoft highlights, or was it the club? Or I mean, how did that sort of come about? Because I said to you, I watched the AFC Telford one, and I wanted to keep the whole thing in because it was that good. But I looked at it and thought, if I keep it all in, then the show's probably going to go on for about an hour and a half, and I'll probably get told off because they don't want it that long. So I mean, tell us a little bit about it and how you sort of put it all together.
Completely self-divide. Yeah, I mean, it's a work. No, we're a bit. Stephen and I are to a certain degree perfectionists, and I think anyone in kind of media world is really. But we've got a massive sort of 5-year plan that's kind of that we're working towards. The club have been absolutely brilliant, and you go back sort of a year from now, and we met with Gary, the previous chairman, and Jamie. And kind of put forward our ideas, and the club really have kind of supported us and left us to our own devices in terms of giving us creative freedom to kind of create what we have. So the sort of quality of videos you're seeing now has been in a sort of an amalgamation of sort of the last season's work, really, last year, and obviously our experiences. So I worked with Stephen at Yarmouth Town and Beccles as well. So we've kind of amalgamated all those last 2.5 years into what we're doing now. And we meet, so we've got another guy in our team called Seb, who does the photographers as well. And we have regular meetings, and we kind of sort of plan forward what our content's going to look like. We have a few things that we kind of keep the same. So certain sort of style of highlights and post-match reaction videos, things like that. And then we've got other products, well, if you like, that we're kind of, experimenting with. So the full sort of highlights that you saw, that's sort of more of an experimental thing. We've got a brand called Trawler Talk Live, so that's our audio commentary on a match day, and then we also on certain games, many Tuesday nights throughout the season, we do like live streams. But obviously, that being a Saturday game, what we basically did was we run a full production, but just didn't live stream it. It was obviously just pre-recorded. And then we did like a full highlights from that. So we're kind of always looking at way. Our biggest plan, our biggest sort of aim, is to increase the fan engagement. It's particularly with younger fans as well, with the club. So we're working on our YouTube channel. We've got thousands of subscribers now. I don't know all the figures, that's Stephen's job, but thousands of subscribers on other platforms like Instagram and X and all that. We're nearly at the 400 subscribers mark now for YouTube, but we're averaging about 5 or 6 subscribers a week. So really sort of steadily building that. And and we're just ever looking, constantly looking for ways to keep the brand of Lowestoft Town being fresh and engaging for all fans, especially younger fans, but also still connecting with the long, the sort of hardcore, lifelong fans of Lowestoft, and just giving the guys a platform. I'm really passionate about giving non-league football a platform, and say I'm a Hammers fan, but if I get sort of too into it, I'm not a massive fan of the Premier League because I just think it's expensive and not everyone can afford 70, 80, £100 a ticket to go and see a team. But actually, you can get out and support your local team. You live in Lowestoft. I take my boys down when I can to see Lowestoft play, and I was back at Dagenham the other week. So that's kind of sort of where it's all come from, really.
Well, I like the way you quickly got that in about live streaming on a Tuesday, but not on a Saturday. You got that in, so don't worry, just in case everybody was listening. But I mean, it was quite funny actually. Last year, I'll bring them up for a second time now, but they had a young man, like yourself, and he was actually the gentleman that's in charge of their sort of media. He's also does a lot of teaching at the local college and the university and
Yeah.
stuff. And he picked up a couple of the young lads from the course that he was doing, said, come down to Mousehole, come down and do this. And he did basically the same sort of, setup as you do, goes down there, does all the interviews and, the face on the camera at the beginning. And he actually handed his notice in at the 3/4 of the way through the season last year. I'm not too sure if you do the same, but he managed to get a job at Barcelona Television. So he now hosts Barcelona. he now he's now one of the hosts on Barcelona One on over in
Well,
Spain.
I mean, I'm always willing to discuss. I'm always willing to discuss contracts. No, I mean, look, I mean, yeah, I mean, of course, that's anyone's dream, but I mean, look, we do it for the fun. We love it. We absolutely love being part of the club. It's a real. I know it's cliche thing to say, but it really does feel like a family at Lowestoft Town. I'm sure it's the same at Leiston, and it's everyone's connected to the club. Everyone's sort of got a story to tell, and it's just it's absolute fun. And I love filming things for fun, and if I'm got a purpose to do it for and help the club in the same time even better. I say we've just sort of started with 2 episodes in now to our monthly Trawler Talk live podcast. Trawler Talk podcast, sorry. So that's a new thing that we're looking into, and it's just great fun. It's absolutely great fun doing it.
I mean, Ryan, have Leiston got anything like that? Your own sort of channel, or is it something that do you know that they're looking to try and do just to try and boost that? I suppose the younger audience or people that can't actually get to the games. So I've noticed this year, even on X, there's a lot more people doing match day commentaries as well, just for those people that maybe the older ones or people that have gone away or live further away from the ground. They're actually doing stuff to try and get that sort of people listening and still getting in touch with their actual clubs. I mean, is there anything at all at Leiston for that?
I'm not sure, not on this extent. Obviously Glenn's doing a great job. We did have a good guy last year. I think he's moved over to Galston actually. They must be paying him a little bit of money maybe. He was doing a great job. Superb media stuff on match days, pre-season throughout the week. He was superb actually, Ben. But yeah, I'm not too sure if they're doing something this big. But it's a great idea. I think you need the volunteers to start off with, don't you? In every aspect of the club, whether it's your kit washed or whether it's your media, you need some great volunteers to start off with. And every non-league clubs they need them, and they're very well appreciated. But yeah, I don't think we're at that level yet in terms of the media stuff. But I think. After hearing this, if there's any on the call tonight, maybe they can start thinking about bigger and better ways of putting.
I think we were saying earlier about and being sort of out on the east and smaller pool of players and stuff, and part of it is also making the club attractive, isn't it? I'm not saying it's the be and end all of it, but anything you can do to kind of add to the club and try and just tempt someone over. I mean, the players are all great. They all get involved with it. They love it. The fans absolutely love it. Luke Holt, he's just one that stands out. He's a real. He really loves getting on the camera, and we've got this thing going on at the moment about the Incredible Holt. And a little gift was made to make him look like the Incredible Hulk. And it's just great. It creates a really good rapport between the fans, and some players might, you might just think, oh, there's good exposure, there's good coverage going on there, but. In terms of what you were saying as well about like college students and stuff, we're really lucky that we've got our Access Sport program running. Keon Wren at the club runs the Access Sport program, and some other partners in there, and that is something we're exploring about getting some of the young lads on and ladies on the course to actually get involved in sort of the media side of things as well. So.
But you say you call him the Incredible Hulk and that on there. I mean, do you find that I know when I was doing the Tannoy down at Harlow Town, and I think one of the best nights we ever had down there was against Leiston actually in the League Cup, and it was only about 175, 200 people in the ground. But at that night, and I can't remember exactly why, I don't know I think it was Leiston went sort of 2-3 nil up, and then Harlow came back and etc. And it felt like there was about 2,500 in there because the place was absolutely rocking that night. It was incredible. But one of the things you said there about the Hulk was There was we had one of the players playing for us, and it was a guy called Alex Reed, one of the strikers, and he'd been there for I don't know a couple of months or so, and all of a sudden on one occasion he runs over to one of the fans, and the fan just happened to have a poster that said "machine" on it. So of course, after a while, I sort of latched onto this and thought, so I'll tell you what we do. Every time he scores, we'll call him Alex the Machine Reed and do it slowly enough to try and get the crowd to actually, sort of sing it, sort of chant it out as you try and do it across the tannoy. And it ended up sort of picking up and picking up. He ended up being the top goal scorer, all-time top goal scorer for Harlow. And then every time you saw an interview with him in the press, or if you saw something on the internet, or if you saw something on X or Twitter as it was and Facebook and the rest of it, they'd always put on there, Alex the Machine Reed or the
Yeah,
Machine scores again. For then you're thinking, how does that sort of get picked up from me saying it over the tannoy to all of a sudden now being in the press and being into here and being to all over the place, and kids with machine written on the back of their shirt. Do you know what I mean? And we even went to Southend at one cage in the County Cup, and we walked in, and at the time Southend was struggling, couldn't score, and one of the fans turned around at me and he went, "So which one of these blokes is the Machine then?" Do you think so? This is from like and then they were in the second division at the time, and it took about, I don't know, 5 minutes, and he scored against Southend. I just turned around to these two guys sitting behind me going, "Oh, by the way, that's who that is." Do you know what I mean? But it's just crazy how something like that you do sort of picks up with your audience, and all of a sudden that instead of being called what your name, you all of a sudden you're just being called that nickname that someone's actually sort of put out there for you.
yeah, yeah, exactly right. And like that particular thing actually just literally came, as most things do, randomly on one of our audio commentary. It just sort of came to us in the moment, and it seems to have stuck since.
So Ryan, I mean, with Leiston, I always say Leiston, Leiston, whichever way it is. I know I get told off whichever way I say it. But what with the season this year? How have you felt it's gone so far? I mean, are you at a stage where you're happy with how it's gone so far? Little bit disappointed, I mean, you guys in the management team must have had sort of like a sort of a points tally at certain stages of the season, I would assume, or cup runs, etc., etc. I mean, how do you feel that it's going, and are you guys pleased with it?
Um, I'm not one that really sort of looks at the league table, and I could tell you actually I haven't even looked at it at all once. I sort of usually evaluate in sort of blocks of like like quarter of the season off, and after maybe what 10 games or so, see how we've gone. Um, and in terms of the performances, I'd say they've been pretty good. Other than the first game of the season where we had a decent spell for a short period of time, but after that we sort of physically got beat up a little bit, and we were disappointed in the manner we conceded goals that day. From there on after, performances have generally been very good. With a little spell where we were still a little, I'd say maybe decision making and maybe not getting on the end of crosses in the other end, which sort of let us down in terms of gaining points. And for a few games, we looked, I'd say, quite pretty on the eye in terms of the football we played, but perhaps weren't good enough in both boxes. But the last few games we've started to look sort of more dangerous in terms of a bit more cutting edge at the top end of the pitch, and we've got some good players, some good creative players, and it's only a matter of time before they start finding their form and their rhythm. Because we've got a lot of players that can create and can score goals. So I'm not saying we're satisfied at all, no, because at the end of the day, you want more points.
Hmm.
We're not happy because we just want to keep striving to get more points on the board. But we're doing okay. We're doing okay, but we know we've still got lots of room for improvement.
Well, I mean, looking at the picture I've got in front of me from football web pages. I mean, last time we lost was Banbury away, 24th of August. So you had quite a good run, good run. Sort of Royston 2-0, Wolverhampton maybe 4-1, draw with Halzo in town, beat Sudbury 3-2. Then of course the draw in the FA Cup, and you've got that replay of course tomorrow night. But are you going to be really clever tomorrow night then? Because according to football web pages, you're at home to Brentwood Town in the FA Cup replay, but you're also away to Bury Town in the Suffolk County Cup. Or are you going to be playing two different teams?
Yeah, unfortunately, we've definitely just got the one game tomorrow, and I'm not sure in terms of uh, squad selection. I don't know whether this old man in front of you can go out and get his boots back on again after about 5 games in the last five appearances in the last 5 games. But like I said earlier, we're playing good football at the moment, so we're all looking forward to getting back on the pitch. We've got 1 or 2 little niggles that we need to patch up, but other than maybe 1 or 2, we're all good to go tomorrow night.
The question for you then, as you say, is maybe one of the older players in the team then. I mean, how difficult is that? Because I talk to some players, some people say it's not a problem, but majority of them say it's an issue. Playing on the 3G, I mean, how, if you're playing on a 3G, how difficult is that to sort of go from Saturday to Saturday, Tuesday, or whatever else? Because am I right to Brentwood Town now on
Yeah,
3G?
brand new
Yeah.
3G. And I've generally been quite surprised over the last 4 games. I felt quite good. Sort of been playing 75 minutes for the last 4 games. Had to play 90 Saturday, and I woke up Sunday morning, feeling it a little bit, to be honest. My back was sore because of the 3G. And it's quite an energy zapping pitch that. We're lucky at the moment. Our pitch is incredible. Groundsman's done a hell of a job. Done some good work into the summer. And it's a really good pitch at the moment. It's a lovely pitch to play on. But sooner or later, it does take its toll for the older boys. Like I've been feeling good in the last month, but now and again, you need to sort of, when your body's telling you you need a rest, you need to sort of be honest with the management team and not let that pride get in the way. Even though I'm 30, still loving the Saturdays and the Tuesday nights.
So for those who don't know, Ron, whereabouts whereabouts do you play?
Centre midfield, more of a sort of centre circle midfield player, as opposed to venturing up and into the box. But I've got some good young athletic runners around me, and I'll use them to good effect. So yeah, they do a lot of running for us.
He's still a class act. Jarvie can still get about the pitch. He's got a great footballing brain, technically very good, and still got another 2 or 3 years left in him yet, I'm sure.
Oh, thanks, Goddess.
And of course, you've got Mr. Lita coming towards you soon, haven't you? With Barwell.
Lita, is that to ours or Lowestoft?
Yourself, have you got them coming up away soon?
Away, yes, we have. Yeah, I mean, we played against him probably 4 times in the last year. I'd say that he's been at 3 or 4 different Midlands clubs, so we know about him. Obviously, been a very good player throughout his career. But we've got some intelligent defenders and we've got enough now around us to be able to deal with him. But like you have to be on your mettle because he's sharp and he's still intelligent and he's actually still got that little bit of sharpness. Can that hurt somebody on the day? And he's got a lot of desire as well. Last year he showed a lot of desire in terms of the way he was pressing and really getting after the game. So yeah, he can be a handful.
I mean, Jamie, what about yourself with Lowestoft? I mean, happy with the start you've made?
Yeah, I think so. Having kind of reflected on our opening sort of month of the season, I think it just took us a little while to get into it. It's a different level. Our pre-season wasn't ideal in terms of the games that we were playing against were all teams lower than us because just from a travelling issue, knowing that we're going to get more enough miles on the clock, so we didn't want to travel too far, and I think that probably paid a price in that we didn't really start as well as what we'd like to. Redditch was our first home game, a real tough game, and followed up with St Ives. It was another loss, but we've got better with every game. We've every point that we've earned. We've had to play really well to get them points, and we probably still have to learn the art of picking up points when we're not at our best. But yeah, I think to have 2 or 3 wins under our belt, still be in the FA Cup at this stage, and yeah, I think we have improved with every game.
Well, I'd like to know. I suppose the one question I'd like to know what was said, and I don't know if Glenn heard from outside the dressing rooms and such. But what did you actually say to the players on the 26th of August when you lost 6-1 away at Sudbury, that got the turnaround to take on Potters Bar Town 5 days later and beat them 6-2?
Uh, I think it's a great reference point for us. When we take our foot off, when we stop working hard, teams at this level will just punish you. And I mean, it was the Monday, wasn't it? So we played on the Saturday, and the Monday was real hot on their 3G surface as well, which add on another few degrees on top of that. And we just when we kind of I mean, it was 2-1 with 15 to go, and I'd made an attacking sub to try and get an equaliser. And then 10 minutes later, it was 6-1 and whatever. And so sometimes them subs go for you, and sometimes they go complete opposite. But and it was a time where we looked like our energy was sapped. They looked like they were gaining more energy as it went on. And so I think there's an art to losing. We've not been used to that over the last couple of years, and yeah, so tough. But then we brushed ourselves off. Easy to say. We got back on the training field. We used Sudbury as a reference point in terms of this is what can happen when you're not at it. And Potters Bar, I think we blew them away, and probably since Sudbury putting some really good performances. Potters Bar, I thought Telford we were excellent, and unfortunate not to come away from a game with something. And then Royston, obviously 2-0 down, showed some great resilience to come back and win that game 3-2, and then the Newmarket game on. So since then, it's given us a kick up the backside. Sometimes you need that, and yeah, certainly learned from that game. Disappointing because I think the table would look slightly differently, not just on goal difference. We are where we are, but we're on the same number of points with about 7-8 other teams, and we're at the bottom of that section.
You've got a couple of quick games. You've got Kettering Town away, and then Spalding away as well. I mean,
Yeah,
where does the FA Cup come? Where does the FA Cup come back into that?
I
didn't see the date. I'll be honest with you.
I think it's 28th. So I think it's the week. It's a week Saturday.
And then it's the FA Trophy the week after that, isn't it?
Don't know. One game at a time.
The only reason I'm guessing that for is because you've got a massive gap between the 24th of September and the 12th of October. So I'm guessing that there's two sort of cup games which normally go back to back, the FA Cup and FA Trophy. But I mean, those two though. I mean, Kettering Town, and Spalding. I mean, how far is Spalding from Lowestoft?
No idea.
I think it's a good 3-hour drive, isn't it?
It's a fair old track, yeah.
Yeah.
They all are.
Yeah.
Too long. It's not in Suffolk.
Yeah. They are. You stop looking at the map because you just go bus. The reason 7:30 leave, right?
Yeah. The reason I asked you that for is because I know when I was with Harlow, we used to have like the opening game of the season, and then the Eastmid League always used to say that you'd have not the games you would choose for like your bank holidays, but your next nearest one away. So when I looked at it, it worked out every single year. The second game of the season on a Tuesday night away was Wroxham, and he used to say to him, "How on earth is Wroxham the closest?" Because of where Harlow were, Wroxham was the next closest. So Harlow was the next closest to Wroxham, other than their sort of local derbies. So we had to keep going to them on a Tuesday night, all the way up to Wroxham for a game on a Tuesday night, which was just madness on to have those on a Tuesday. But I mean, after that, back to league after your cup games, you've got Howes Owen and then Bishop Stortford as well.
Yeah, all games are difficult at this level. I don't think there's not a game that you look at and go, well, there's 3 points there, so Kettering, I don't know much about them other than what I spoke to the Royston gaffer, who said they were the best team that played this season. Spalding just got a new manager in and looking to recruit heavily. So two very difficult games coming up. Yeah.
I mean, are any sort of surprises from both clubs around, maybe who's top and, anybody that's going really well? You expected sort of teams that maybe are going well that you didn't expect to, or teams that are not doing very well that you expected to do better?
Not from me really. Kind of, we've gone into the league a little bit blind with what teams are doing. Of course, we were there 3 seasons ago, but the league looks very different to what it is now. So I'm very I don't know much about the teams that are currently in there and what they should and shouldn't be doing. So probably one more for Jarve.
Again, like things change every single season, don't they? You get a new manager, maybe a new budget. Like I said, players, 2 or 3 players will leave one Midlands club, head to the next. So things change every season. Like I said earlier, I don't even know who are top of the league at the moment. Couldn't care less at the moment, to be honest. Probably look again, maybe towards the Christmas time. And I don't even know who are at the foot of the table. So we're only what, 6, 7 maybe? I don't know, 6, 7 games in.
Yeah.
7, yeah.
A lot of things can change. I've not played a team that really I've thought, oh my God, they'll be up there, and not really played a team I thought, cool, they're shocking, they'll be down there. So at this stage of the season, everyone's fighting their hardest to gain points straight away. And it's very sort of much as where it's quite an even game. Sometimes you might find yourself, well, we've dominated that, but they've snuck a little winning. But yeah, like I said, there's not much between all the sides we've played at the moment, to be honest.
Glenn, do you know who's top? You must do, surely.
Well, I say that I haven't looked at the table. I haven't looked at the table since the weekend, so I won't want to hazard a guess. But I mean, going back to the original point, I think similar to what Jamie said, but I think I think at this level of football, and certainly what's sort of happening in the league anyway at the moment, the thrill of it is it's very unpredictable. You know, it comes down to the day. Any team can beat any team. It goes out to what team's going to fight for it the most. I say on our commentary regularly, it might, even when Lowestoft lost, season, we might have been 3 or 4-0 up. And I'd say, me and Stephen say, listen, the game is not over yet. There's 15, 20 minutes. Anything can happen because you've seen teams come back from unbelievable scorelines. But I mean, I did a little bit of research on some of the clubs before the season. Obviously Redditch, they've got Tim Flowers now, haven't they? They're doing quite well. They lost their manager over the summer. Or just before the end of last season, actually.
Yeah.
I think I know of Spalding as a club, but I think they're last time I looked, they were sort of down near the bottom end, weren't they? So they're not doing too great. But no, I couldn't.
Yeah,
there we are. Yeah, but I couldn't tell you who's top at the moment.
Well, I'll put you all over. I'll tell you. Alvechurch top. They played 8, got 16. Stamford have played 8, got 16, but they're +3 to +4 Alvechurch. AFC Telford have played 7 and got 16. Halzowen played 8, 14. Stourbridge 7, 13. And then you've got 2 others there on 13 as well in Redditch United and Banbury. At the bottom, you've got Barwell 19th with 5, Biggleswade Town with 4, Spalding with 3, and Hitchin played 7 and won none. 0 points. That's got to be a tough start, isn't it?
Yeah, that is.
I think didn't they lose to Telford like 5-4. So you're playing one of the favourites for the league if Telford are, and to still score 4 goals against the favourites is, So what are we 6 points off top place, are we?
Yeah, not doing too bad.
Anything's achievable,
Ryan's right. It's so early in the season to to be bogged down in what the table looks like now.
But as a manager, though, I mean, I just want to pick out because we were just talking about Hitchy, but go just you're sort of picking this out a little bit, really. I mean, they played. This is the craziness of football, even at this level. You know, they played Stamford, lost 2-0. They then went to Telford, and as you say, lost 5-4. And then from there on in, they lost 3-0, 4-0, 2-0, 1-0. And then the weekend they got their first goal in 6 games, and it's where they lost 2-1 to Bishop Stortford. You know, you look at that, don't you, with craziness, think, well, just as you said, Jamie, you know, they've gone up against probably the favourites or one of the favourites of the league, they score 4. And then for the next 5 games, they don't even score a goal. It's just the absolute craziness of non-league football.
I think football in general, really. Me and Geordie spoke on Saturday. We've started the last 4 games really well, and yet been 1-0 down in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
In the FA Cup on Saturday, that was the poorest we've been for a number of weeks, and find ourselves 1-0 up. It's just football. It's unpredictable. That's why everyone loves it. You just cannot, you know, Liverpool at home against Forest, that's guaranteed 3 points, but then they lose to them. So, the team that will be up there at the end will be the most consistent, obviously, and I think that's what you put a good run together in this league, and then you're climbing 10 spaces.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just quickly for both, you know, for Ryan and for Jamie. I mean, tell us a little bit, Jamie, first off, about Lowestoft. Tell us a little bit about the club. I mean, just tell us a bit of a synopsis about the club. What other teams you've got in the club, and and what type of club is Lowestoft.
Yep. So I came back to Lowestoft, having played there for about 13 years. Went to manage at Sudbury and Kirkley, then came back 6 years ago. We had just the first team at the time, and then since then we've built with the support of Andy Reynolds, who was influential in that as well. We now have an academy that runs from 9 through to 16s. It's attached to a scholarship program, so we have an under 18s and 19s. Our under 18s are in the FA Youth Cup tomorrow night against Ipswich Wanderers. So we're hoping to progress well in that. And we've also this season just bolted on a girls program to it. So we have now a girls section that run from under 10s through to under 15s at the moment, with the vision of having a ladies team in the near future. So and I guess that the work that Glenn does, which probably came about following when we was playing hashtag a couple of years ago and having over 1,000 people come to watch us. I had no idea that hashtag existed, but the number of kids that came on, and I mean, it was a home game for us, but I'd say 800 people, 800 Lowestoft players, supporters came to watch hashtag and want their autographs and stuff like that. So, I mean, they're a club based on what they've done on social media, and Glenn and his team, Stephen and Seb, have done an unbelievable job in raising the profile of the club, improving the engagement with our supporters. Because there's one thing that non-league clubs are not guilty of, but the feedback from supporters is we just don't communicate enough. And so that the boys do a fantastic job and help build that rapport with supporters, because they're doing a lot with our players to put our players in front of the supporters as well. So I'd say we're on the up or plateauing. We've got to find our level, but it's a good time to be involved with the club, having spent so many years here. Yeah, for sure.
Happy days. And Ryan, with Leyson?
Yeah, very similar to what God has just said. I joined 2 seasons ago, and didn't know an awful lot about the club, but you quickly find out, sort of following meeting a lot of people behind the scenes, that there's so many good people that do loads of good voluntary work. like God has said earlier, in terms of some of the budgets that some of these clubs have got, sort of us local, Suffolk clubs haven't got sometimes the budgets that you can compete with some of these clubs. So some of the work that goes in behind the scenes is fantastic. And like Jamie said, again, in terms of the academy environment, I think Dave Williams, sort of the head of the club, is, in terms of the football side of it, has done a fantastic job over the last however many years. He's been sort of developing younger sides and developing younger coaches to try and bring some good youth through. And we've definitely seen that in the last couple of years. We've probably had, I think last year we had 5 or 6 young lads from the youth team make their first team debut. So that's something they're really sort of pushing hard and massive on, to try and keep bringing that youth through from beneath all the way down, like Jamie said, from the nines all the way up to the first team.
Mm.
And you can see the work that goes on sort of throughout the week, in the evenings, to generate income, however that may be, and all the weekend football from the little ones all the way up to sort of the seniors. But so yeah, it's a great club, just as Lowestoft is. You've got so many good people, that run all these young teams, and hopefully we'll get more and more of these young lads that are representing Leiston at under nines, representing the first team in the coming years.
Well, that was going to be my last question to both of you. Is that the dream, to get somebody like from your under nines or whatever, from the younger age groups, and in sort of 10 years time or whatever else, or 8 years time, they're playing for the first team?
I think that's superb, isn't it? It's what local non-league football's about, to be honest. They've probably joined Leiston because it's maybe their local side, and all lower stuff, and it might be like, I want to play for Lowestoft, I want to play for Leiston, and if they get to make their debut, then fantastic. But if they get to progress even further than that, I think the club can then say, well, we've done our part, we've done our job. Our coaches have put the time and the work and the effort into helping these young lads enjoy the game, love the game first and foremost, and then give them a little bit of guidance along the way to support their football journey. So yeah, like I said, there's loads and loads of great volunteers and coaches and people that give up their time on and off the field, that is, to keep supporting and helping these non-league clubs grow.
Mm. Jamie, same dream for you?
Yeah, I'd like a team of them. I'd like the whole under 19s to come through. That would be the cheapest first team squad in history. That would mean that we could afford to build a 3G or something like that. But I think that's part of it. Part of it is a money saving exercise for one. But we need to produce our own players. We can't compete with other local teams. I think wages are only going to ever go up, and so we need to produce our own and bring 2 or 3 of them through a season. And I think you're in a good place. But like Ryan said, a minimum expectation to bring provide players for our own academy or our own first team. If they go on to make professional appearances or sign for professional clubs, then that's a great pull, a great and attraction for players to want to come here and start their journeys here as well. So, and having them academy players come up and have role models like players that we've got in our first team is brilliant. So that's the dream, and we've now got to just work hard and try to make them dreams a reality.
Absolutely. We wish you all the very best with that as well, both clubs, and wish you all the best at the weekend, Jamie, and all the best to Ryan and the rest of the boys tomorrow night against Brentwood Town. And a massive thank you for Glenn for joining us as well. The coverage is absolutely outstanding. I mean, tell everybody where they can watch your quality highlights. I mean, tell everybody out there.
Yes, yeah. Thank you again for having me. And Trawler. We got our YouTube channel, so official Trawler Boys YouTube channel. If you're not already, do like and subscribe. Neutral Lowestoft fan. And again, the handles official Trawler Boys Lowestoft Town Football Club on X, on Twitter. X, Twitter, same thing, isn't it? On Instagram, and all the other sort of platforms out there. I think we're on everything now. So get on down and see them. See all the see all the Lowestoft Town coverage.
And of course, if you want to see it, if you get it edited in time, you can also watch it tomorrow night. So Wednesday night on the Southern League Goal Show as well. This week, sort of 7 o'clock till normally till about 8 o'clock on the Southern League YouTube channel. Can tell you that while we're on the show tonight, it's the NFL versus Hollywood in League One tonight. Birmingham against Wrexham. Wrexham have just taken the lead. Jack Marriott has just scored for the Hollywood boys against the NFL boys tonight. So that'll be an interesting one for people to go back and watch now if you want to go and watch it on Sky tonight. But a massive thank you to Jamie, massive thank you to Ryan, and of course a massive thank you to Glenn. We'll be back next week at the same time, 7 o'clock next week. Good night.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.